The Miami Dolphins at the Detroit Lions. The Dolphins are sitting 3.5-point favorites. 51.5 is your total, the biggest of the week. Boys, this was in my account early. This was in my account often. This was in my account. I have a lot on the Miami Dolphins this week in this game. And so, look, if you take a look as to why I'm going after this, there's a couple of different reasons. One, look, the honeymoon thing with the Detroit Lions is over, right? I mean, yes, the Hard Knocks was fine, and it was a great story, and I joked on our podcast that I was ready to run through a wall for Dan Campbell and all the stuff like that, and Dan Campbell might be an awesome dude, and he might be a good motivator. That doesn't mean he's a good coach, and I also think he might have surrounded himself with a whole bunch of guys that fit that mold that probably aren't good coaches either, right? They're probably awesome guys to be around, and they're fun dudes in the locker room, and the players probably all love them, but that doesn't mean that you can coach in the NFL. And look, it's the same old Lions again this year. It is one of the worst defenses we've seen in an incredibly long time. The Miami Dolphins defense is actually getting a little bit healthier, which has been their kind of Achilles heel, and it certainly has not been the offense, because this offense has been really, really good. I'm glad that they sputtered a little bit last week to where we get this number. I got the flat 3, the 3.5. I thought this thing would be 6. I mean, like, honest to God, I thought this thing would be 6. And I think the Dolphins sputtering in front of everybody last week got us a very favorable number on this. Guys, if you look at this, I don't have to tell you all the statistics of the Lions defense. You guys will know, but if you're listening or watching and you just want to know, I mean, it's 31st DVOA, 32nd according to Pro Football Focus. It's 31st against the pass, 32nd against the pass, Pro Football Focus, 26th when it comes to pass rush, 32nd defensive EPA, success rate against the overall is 31st, 30th against run, 30 against you get the picture. They are the bottom 3 in basically every single advanced metric that there is in the NFL that we kind of do this to handicap these games. And now you come in with the Dolphins offense that has been highly efficient with Tua under center. Lions defense with this number 32 ranked, drop back EPA defense is going up against Tua and Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Tyreek Hill leads the NFL in 10-plus yard receptions with 32. He leads the NFL in 20-plus yard receptions with 12. Jalen Waddle leads the league in 30-yard receptions with 7 and 40-yard receptions with 4. You have the receivers that are going up against the worst pass defense in the entire NFL that lead the league in 10, 20, 30, and 40-yard receptions so far on the season. This team is going to have several explosive plays. They are going to put points on the board. I still would bet it at 3.5. Obviously, the 3 is much, much, much more attractive, but I love the Dolphins this week indoors on the fast track. I think they're going to expose this Lions team for everything that they are, or everything that they aren't, I should say. What say you, Adam?
I understand exactly where you're coming from. I am not sold on Tua back yet. Last week was not pretty for Tua Tagovailoa. 0 big-time throws, 3 turnover-worthy plays, barely up to 60% completions against a Pittsburgh defense that it's not the Pittsburgh defense of old. We'll put it that way. That said, the matchups absolutely favor Miami. You're not going to find me on the Detroit side of things in this game. This game, to me, is a total pass. I don't know who the Lions are right now other than bad on defense. Like we know offensively, we've seen this team be able to put up 35, and then we've seen this team put up 6. We don't know what we're getting on that side of the ball. And now Amon-Ra St. Brown is banged up again, and they still have not gotten completely healthy with Swift and Chark. So I'll pass, but if you were to twist my arm and get me in, I'd be with you.
Steven, if we take a look, I mean, on the Lions side, I think it's almost, I think it's almost too obvious, right? It's Jared Goff has turned kind of back into Jared Goff, right? I mean, like he's turning the ball over all the time. He's making very poor decisions, which he didn't in the first couple of games of the season. Super small sample size where we were saying, maybe this guy's turned a corner. He is not. He's not the future. Lions should probably just try and lose out and get one of these top quarterbacks that's coming out in the draft this year and see if they can't do something with some of this young talent that they do have on the roster. Because, listen, a Bryce Young led or a CJ Stroud led Lions team with Amon-Ra St. Brown. And by the way, Jameson Williams is coming back and DeAndre. So that's something I want to be a part of, but that ain't this team right now. And I think this Lions team is legitimately one of the worst 5 teams yet again in all the NFL.
The Lions offense the first month of the season had a low success rate, which was indicating poor consistency from series to series. They were banking on explosive plays to get them points, and now that has dried up. The last 3 weeks, they are dead last in EPA, dead last in drop back EPA, dead last in rush EPA. And the offensive line, which we thought was strong, their strongest unit coming in, is now down to 19th and 14th in pass block and run block win rate. So that is not the elite unit, the top 10, top 5 unit we all thought they could be. So without that, what are they? Because they have no defense, as you have laid out. And for the Miami side, credit to Mo Nawara for pointing this out on Beat the Closing Line. I thought it was a really interesting stat. Miami's still number 3 in pass offense by DVOA, despite having games in that sample with Teddy Bridgewater and Skylar Thompson playing. So this is clearly a very explosive offense when Tua is the quarterback. I saw the same things Adam saw last week against Pittsburgh, but I'll also say that they had, 7 yards per pass. They were above average in yards per play, and they had some poor red zone luck. So I don't think this defense in Detroit's going to put up any type of test or challenge in the same way Pittsburgh did last week.